It's the After the Show podcast, precious.
We don't care, we're about to swear on the air. It's the After the Show, so tune in if you dare. KVJ, get risque every single day. It's uncensored. We can say what we want to say.
Well, hello, welcome to the KVJ After the Show podcast. Virginia is still in New Orleans. She should be back with us tomorrow. I don't know when she might be coming back, but here the weather's not going to be good there today. They got some storms, and I was just talking to Jennifer Ross as she was getting on the elevator to get out of here, and she said that she heard tornadoes.
Ooh, the teenades.
Yeah.
So Virginia leaves on Mardi Gras to drive home?
I believe so, because you get into tomorrow and it's all kind of toast. I think, like I said, I think a lot of the big parades happen on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday before. So that's my guess. But if I remember right, yeah, she's scheduled she's supposed to be back tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what's on the books.
Don't think she's traveling. I think she's back here. I think that's how it always goes. So, we'll see with her. I've been hearing some reports, just trying to piece it all together, that she lost her phone. We're trying to get a hold of her to get her on, but we can't get a hold of her. We've just been hitting voicemail.
Yeah, that means she's definitely drinking again.
Okay, yeah. Smita.
Oh, she's awesome.
Yeah, she ran into Virginia in New Orleans. She said, I've attached pics and video. V bought us king cake shots, which were creamy, not Jell-O, and I refuse to use all of her words to describe it, but I think she said, they're creamy and savory, not salty. Savory.
She got me glasses, a bunch of glasses.
Oh, she did? Okay.
Smita.
She said, Franny and crew came dressed amazingly for Mardi Gras. Pick whatever you want to post. I'm too tired and drunk to choose. Okay. She's got a photo of her and Virginia. I assume she did the meetup. They had Three-Legged Dog yesterday at 3 p.m. They're supposed to meet up. So whomever might have been a KVJ Nationer there. I think Rob from Seattle was going to be there.
Oh, I think they're the ones that came to Ohio.
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
they're a nice couple.
Yeah, they traveled.
They did not like the pizza crossing either.
I know. I think the only people that like it are from Logan. And they swear by that pizza.
Well, you don't like something, you're afraid you're just being a hater, and everyone's going to go, Bird, this pizza's amazing. What are you talking about? It was across the board. People going, what is this shit?
Well, I mean, I think the reason why is because they are really insulated being a small little town in southeastern Ohio. And the food in that area, a lot of it's very bland. I know, like my parents, my dad's not a spice kind of guy. And so the food, it's burgers, French fries, that kind of stuff, but, spicy. Like, for instance, I think they had a Mexican place, and if you would have that, it'd actually still be kind of bland because they just can't deal with hot, spicy, that kind of stuff. It's not their thing. So
going to Red Lobster, that kind of flavor is like, whoa.
Olive Garden, that's their speed. In fact, Olive Garden was if you were going for a high-end meal, like if you had a prom date, you're doing something like that, Olive Garden was...
Yeah, I could see that.
That was the fanciest that we had. So Olive Garden was it. You just knew. I was default. You're going to Olive Garden if you got a big night. If you got straight A's, if you had an engagement, it's Olive Garden.
When I was a little boy, Olive Garden came into town in North Palm Beach, and it was holy shit.
Yeah, okay.
People couldn't, but my brother got a job there.
Yeah.
And we're like, you got a job at the OG?
Okay.
What?
Yeah.
And it was considered fancy for a lot of families.
Yeah.
At least it was for us. When did it not get that way? When did people go, this is whack? I remember I started getting emails on the air go, why do you always blow Olive Garden? It's low budget bullshit, Bird.
It's still big.
It is.
Yeah, it hasn't changed. I mean, I'm from, that there are a lot of poor people in my town. And so, yeah, Olive Garden, that's still high end. It hasn't changed. I mean, what changed was I left, and then my perspective changed. But so, when I first journeyed out of Logan, Ohio, in the depths of southeastern Ohio in the hills, I was like, yeah, this is, I thought that was the creme de la creme.
But people don't look at it as fancy anymore. They look at it as
they do in Logan.
Still.
Yeah. I don't think it's changed. I think
You're-
it's still the big deal.
You're right, though. Olive Garden, some people did go there for prom.
That's what we did. That was our spot. Yeah, I think that's where I went for prom. And we couldn't believe it. We got a table. Like, wow, you got a table. And you were kind of walking around with big dick energy. Like, yeah, we went to Olive Garden. No big deal.
I think I get tricked. I just love the idea of endless whatever.
Yeah,
They
it
go
was mind-boggling.
Bottomless salad and
Yeah.
breadsticks on the reg just constantly coming at you.
Yeah.
I don't know. Since I was a little kid, that's always excited me.
Yeah.
The idea of endless food coming. It reminded me of Wonka.
There's a line out the door.
Yeah.
Yeah, you couldn't get into Olive Garden.
Even that soup and salad, Outback does that. I think that people like those kind of things. That
Yeah.
you keep getting the soup, you keep getting the salad.
They do. They do. Yeah, people. Well, you know what? People. A lot of people like to feel like they're winning. There are some people who are really rooted with that. You see the people go to the yard sales and they love to barter. And,
Yeah.
and that they have something in them that they feel like they've got to win. And there are some people when they go out to eat, they have to feel like they win. They're the people that love buffets and all that stuff, saying, "Yeah, you know what? I kind of jobbed the system. I got my money's worth."
You fight through the pain. You're already so full.
Absolutely.
But you go, I'm going to get another $20 for it at this buffet.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I seen families I grew up with. Like the kids weren't allowed. Like you cannot stop until you've had 5 plates.
Yeah, I was in one of those families.
Yeah. You know, you haven't had enough. You need 3 more plates of food. Then you can get up from the table. Till then, And also still got some emails from the Rib Roundup over the weekend. Christina ran into producer Denny. She came down from the Pizzle, the big old West Palm for a country concert.
Nice.
Yeah, I saw some of the footage that our sister station had. And it looked like really good crowd. It
Bunch of people.
Yeah, I think over 10,000 people came out of the Rib Roundup. So that was real good. And I saw Tropical Smokehouse. They won again. They win every kind of barbecue contest there is. I think that's the one that got the tops.
Okay.
Yeah,
I wonder what I gave that score.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see your judging. See where you were.
It had quite a bit of sauce on it. My paperwork that I turned in was the work of a grizzly bear. Because you got to write it, and I'm eating ribs, and I'm like trying to, do all kind of shit. And you got to turn in your paperwork for the judgment.
Right.
And it looked like it was a bloodbath.
It was.
It
yeah.
just was so fucked.
Yeah. I get it. Well, this is an interesting perspective from Lynn. We were talking about how the president of Colombia is considering legalizing cocaine, thinking that maybe he can undercut the cartels, saying all we've tried to do is we've tried to control it and get rid of the drug trafficking. But what if the government jumped in and we had our own, we regulated it, we sold it, you had prescriptions of it? It would be interesting. And Lynn said 100% drugs should be legalized. People will always want to get high, make it legal and safe. And yeah, I agree with that. I think my only hesitation is just what I had seen in some of those cities, pretty much more out west. I think it might have been Portland, might have been San Francisco, might have been a bit of Los Angeles in some places. And I think it was mainly Portland where they tried a little bit of that experiment of saying, yeah, you know what, you guys are adults, do whatever the hell you want. But then people were kind of ruining their lives and standing there like zombies. And so I think there's probably somewhere in the middle. I am all about letting adults make their own choices.
But could you argue, let's say you did legalize it and you made it so readily available, then it becomes normalized a bit, and then maybe someone who wouldn't try it would try it because, I can just grab it right here. And they go, everyone seems to be doing it now. And I'm just asking the question, would that be the counter side, you think?
I think there are some things where you have to have limits to it. Marijuana, you can easily reclassify and put that in there as they're doing right now with the medical marijuana, where you've got a lot of arguments. Okay, this could benefit this. I see what you're doing with that. Cocaine, oddly enough, it comes from a plant, and it depends on how it's processed. It would be safe. You might steer away from some of those fentanyl issues where people are, because that's a lot of times the problem with the cocaine is it's what's with the cocaine. It's not the fact that it's the cocaine itself.
Well, if you're
it's been cut with this or with that or something bad.
And let's say you are a person that does cocaine and you get a batch and you normally do 4 rails, and on that 3rd or 4th rail, You have fentanyl in it, and by that fourth rail is a different kind of rail you're used to taking.
Yeah.
So your body's going to respond differently to that.
Yeah.
You think you're taking X amount, but then you've got fentanyl mixed in there as well.
Right. So to me, I think I like the drugs being in different classes. Marijuana's been wrongfully classified. And that one, yeah, anybody could do the marijuana. That's not really a problem. I don't see any of that. The cocaine, that might be something where that's prescription or...
But would you really want everybody out there out in public high on cocaine? I mean, what could go wrong?
I think you'd have to justify with what it is. You're right. Some
Dude,
people
have you seen people on cocaine? Some people
yeah,
can get fucking squirrely as shit.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Yeah. So, yeah, that's why I think it's got to be somewhat regulated if you do it. I'm not there with the just let's throw everything in 100%. I mean, the fentanyls and all that kind of stuff that really gets you hooked immediately. Heroin, what? You're going to legalize that?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Imagine if all of a sudden heroin is legal at the convenience store. You're able to grab it, or you're able to just go get it anywhere, like a heroin store.
Right.
If you don't think more people would try it more. Because it's easily and readily available.
Yeah, when you don't have the criminalization of it, I think that is what keeps some people out of the game. And there are just some drugs I don't think you can have any kind of benefit with. And that's why you can make the case with the marijuana. Okay, there's some practical uses for this. This makes sense. And I think that's why we are where we are. And I like to see us even further where they legalize the recreational stuff. And I think that will be coming once they get all the little groups appeased. Yeah, but the cocaine, I don't know. I don't know if that's good. The heroin, I just can't see that because I always hear with heroin, the first high is amazing, but then you always chase it, and every high after that's never as good, and that's the kind of stuff that ruins your life.
When has anyone ever said, yeah, I did a bunch of heroin and my life went great?
Yeah. So imagine if your government's saying, yeah, fuck it, go for it. I don't know that I... Yeah, so I'm not all the way there with that.
Well, we got to be honest about the situation. They're all different types of drugs that make people act different.
Right.
Weed is different than even alcohol. They're different monsters. They're different animals together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I'm different if I'm just drinking than if I smoke a joint. You react different to it. I think I'd react different if I took heroin compared to smoking a joint.
Yeah, I don't think you just put it all out there for consumption and free and clear and be like, whatever. Now, you can tax and price and things like that. You know, maybe it is better if the government has their hands in it a little bit more because, yeah, the cartels are getting out of control and they're freaking lawless. And as long as they keep making money, they're going to keep being as powerful as they are.
And people will say, oh, man, you're an adult. You got to make your own decisions. No. That would be great if people could, be cool.
Yeah.
Not everyone can be cool on cocaine.
Well, and that's the problem. You say, well, it's adults making their own choices. But the problem is they don't necessarily just ruin their own life. They get behind the wheel of a car, they kill people, they rob, they whatever. And so, ultimately you're going to pay for that. Either they harm you or your family or your property, or you're going to have to pay for the treatments or whatever in your taxes. And you've kind of greenlit it and said, yeah, go for it, man.
And look, I don't want people to get it twisted. I don't know the answer. If you legalize everything, would that make it better? And if you tax it, all that. It just, when you say this out loud, yeah, legalize heroin. It doesn't sit right with me.
There are just some of those drugs that I just can't imagine ever legalizing it and having the government say, yeah, go for it. Because there's just no redeemable value at all. And the cocaine, I think you're hard-pressed to figure out what that redemption is, other than just it helps you with energy. I mean, people who chew on the cocoa leaves, it's when they're working, they want a little bit of a kick, almost like doing a Red Bull. And something like that, and if the government had it and you got just a certain amount of it, like they used to back in the 20s or the turn of the century, where you could prescribe cocaine. If you did that, then all right, maybe I could even argue the cocaine.
It was in Coca-Cola, which to me seems insane. I wish I could talk to somebody from that time that drank Coca-Cola with cocaine in it. Did one get you a little amped up? Did it take three?
Yeah.
I mean, that...
Right. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see, well, what is difference between that and some of the energy drinks that we have on the market right now? There are some people have died by drinking too many energy drinks.
Sure, but what's that compared to people who have died on cocaine?
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that what is the effect if you did a little bit of a bump and you did 2 or 3 energy drinks? Because you're looking at the harm to the heart and what it's doing.
For sure.
Yeah. So how much different is that? If I did a small little bump of cocaine to keep going, what's actually worse for my body? doing a little bit of cocaine or drinking 3 Red Bulls.
Oh, I've heard many people make the argument that cocaine is, again, one of those natural things from the earth.
Yeah.
And,
Right.
you know, with the cocoa plant, and it should be legal in moderation.
Mm-hmm.
Not Scarface style. I mean, I've heard people really defend it to the
Yeah,
death.
and I could see the defense. I'd like to hear the arguments, and I've not done the deep dive to really think about legalizing all the drugs and ranking them. I don't know the drug categories and where they are. I don't know much about all these other drugs, but I would be open-minded to be like, all right, let's talk it through.
You're more open-minded to cocaine than heroin.
Big time. I can't see legalizing heroin. What is the redeeming value other than the first high you feel? But then the rest of it's just ruining your life after that.
They legalize acid, and then people go out in the public.
Well, you know the one thing that and I don't do that. I don't do the microdosing or anything. I never have, and I'm too scared.
For what,
of that
mushrooms
shit,
or
too. You know, what? I don't even know what it's called, but gosh, what is her name? I even saw her today. She's the blonde-haired Chelsea Handler. She was telling a story that I saw the video of yesterday on Call Her Daddy, and it was about this couple that was celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary, and I think she has a place in Mallorca, something like that, in Greece, and they were there just kind of walking on the beach. She said, you know what? And she had a conversation. They said it was her 50th anniversary. She says, I want you to take my kayak, and I want you to take this hit of acid, and you will have the best night of your life. And the husband was hesitant. The wife's like, you know what? I'll try that. And so they took the kayak, and she said it was early the next morning. She's out exercising on her balcony, and she sees them in the kayak coming back. And so she went down. She's like, are you guys okay? What's going on? Like, we had the most amazing night. We took this hit of the acid or whatever it was. She gave him LSD. I don't even know what it was. And she said, we sat there and just reminisced about our 50 years and went over our favorite moments of our marriage. And it was the best thing ever. And she's like, do you have more? And so, you know, if that enhances that and brings that out and you could regulate that, and you would have, you know, they're probably in their 70s, I would guess. If they've been married 50 years, you know, even if they got married at 20, then they're probably at least at that age. And if they can enjoy and it enhances their night, all right, then having the government regulate that and saying, okay, but you got to do it in moderation.
Someone sounds acid curious.
But I'm not, because it's not a regulated agency handing it to me. But that would be something where if I knew, like the tincture stuff I'm getting right now is coming from a pharmacy.
Yeah, no, I'm kidding. I know you don't.
Yeah.
I know you don't want to drop acid.
But I would. Seriously, if it were something that came from, you talk about legalizing it, and they said, hey, if you just want to have an amazing trippy night and just laugh or feel great.
Yeah, let's drop some acid for the first time. Go out in a lake on a boat. What could go wrong?
I would never do that. I couldn't believe they did that. Yeah, they were in, I guess, like a cave or something like that they had. So they paddled, they did it, talked, then came down from it, paddled back.
Even with, you know, a microdosing of a mushroom and having that kind of conversation, I mean, you could have that kind of moment with somebody with a mushroom as well.
Yeah, if it was strictly controlled and regulated, I knew exactly what I was going to be getting. I knew there wasn't something funky in it. You know, then yeah, I would look into that. So that would be something to me where, yeah, if adults want to get that, put that on the market that you can buy.
I just saw a body cam video, and it might have been here in Florida. The girl took a shit ton of mushrooms, and I guess her husband did too. She's completely naked out in the yard.
Yeah.
She's trying to fight a tree.
Wow.
The cops, they had to tase her 3 different times.
Right.
And she's seeing, I mean, she's out of her mind. That's a person that did way too many mushrooms. You're freaking out. You're at a different level. You can't keep control of anything. And now you're a danger, and not only to yourself, but to other people.
Now, that's something do you buy mushrooms in a dispensary? Can you buy mushrooms there, or is that something you have to get from somebody who you don't know?
Yeah, they're not legal.
Legalized. Okay.
No.
Well, then that would be part of it. You know, if you had somebody really new mushrooms, and I guess some people do use them with some benefit, and they'd be like, hey, this is this kind of mushroom, and here's how you're going to feel, and here's the dosage you should take. Like if you had almost like a drug pharmacist that's not giving you prescription drugs, they're giving you stuff to alter your sense of being, and that person really knows it, and it's very regulated, I would get into it. I would entertain it.
I've heard a lot of people, not a lot, but I heard there was a new movement of people, especially people who are veterans who've had, you know, some trauma that's gone on, you know, emotional trauma, mental stuff, that it has helped them greatly.
Yeah.
Now, again, That's not everybody.
Right.
But for some people, it seemed to. I said microdosing, not macrodosing.
But that's somebody. It's the drug. It's regulated. It's prescribed in the right dosage, taken the right way, and for the right reason. And you're showing me positive effects on that. So that's what I would like to hear with every drug. If I had to decide, I'd be like, well, make the case for it. And then let's decide if we legalize this drug or not.
And I could be wrong. I could be speaking out of turn. Maybe there might be mushroom capsules that could be prescribed.
Okay.
In some areas or some states. I don't know that for a fact, but
it feels like
we'll double check on that.
It sounds initially like there should be.
Yeah.
Then that's why I like that. So I do like this. I think that there's a lot further we could go when it comes to drugs and regulating it and making it safe and also trying to cut the cartels off at the knees.
Well, you always hear people they always say, well, just don't do drugs or just don't drink. Well, that might work for you. You might be a person.
Yeah.
Some people might need a little bit of a boost. I'm not advocating for overdoing anything here, but I'm saying some people are against any kind of anything they're against weed.
And you get to make that choice. But I don't like somebody trying to make a choice for all adults because you could argue and say, hey, I don't have a lot of time. I need a mood enhancer to get me happier quicker, or I have stress, I have anxiety, I have PTSD, whatever it might be. I need something to help get me there. You don't understand what I'm going through.
Because those are real conditions. Do I think people overplay them at times?
Sure.
Absolutely. But yeah, if you really suffer from some of that stuff and you don't suffer from that, you really don't know what that's like to live with. I mean, I talk about me having horrible panic disorder, right? Any kind of large structure. If you're not afraid to walk in front of a building, I sound like a nutball.
Right.
But for me, in my life, I might have to have a drink sometimes.
And there are some people that they have such a stressful life and they have a window of a couple of hours or whatever it might be. And for them to get to a level of relaxation where they kind of recover from the stress and anxiety that they have, they need something to kind of help get them there.
Yeah, and I get it because a lot of people have lost loved ones. They've seen lives destroyed of any kind of substance abuse. And I hear you. I really do. I mean, I get why people would have an attitude towards it as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, if you lived in a house where it destroyed the people around you of any sort, I could see why you would be against it.
Right, absolutely. And I think if you had it where it was almost prescribed and you had to have that, you'd have to go in regularly and find out, okay, how are you doing? And it could be something, too, where it could be reported. If you're abusing this, then that's going to affect whether you can get a prescription for it or not.
You want to smoke a blunt?
Can't smoke, bitch-ass lungs. Yep. I wish I could. It'd be such a faster delivery. Got an email here from Heidi. She has really been going down the rabbit hole about the Gene Hackman passing, and there is that mystery. He passes. It looks like his wife is 9 hours later. I'm kind of holding on just to get more details because maybe in the next report they have, it just all makes sense.
Look, I don't have to be Johnny Detective to know some weird shit went down there. That's too weird of a story.
Feels like it. The thing that I am having the hardest time with, Gene Hackman died first. And it sounds like his wife died days later. Now, I could understand if she had died at the same time that she runs in the house because he's fallen over in the mudroom, which is, I guess, where you put your boots or shoes or jacket, whatever it might be. He's laying there. She goes in to get his heart pills, and she falls, knocks the pills over, which it looks like hits her head on the space heater, out cold. People die by, falling. I mean, look at, Bob Saget. Kind of the same thing. You fall, you hit your head, you die. So that I could see happening. But if there was a 9-day, then what happened there? He was out there for 9 days. She didn't realize that?
It just doesn't jive with me.
No, that doesn't jive. So that's why you got to figure out that discrepancy of what happened there. But here's the thing that we are now. Have you noticed that if you don't have, and what stories do you have all the details there front and center? The longer time goes on and there's mystery and no details, all of a sudden we go down the absolute craziest conspiracy theory. And she's like, I just sent you a video. Were there tunnels under Gene Hackman's New Mexico home? I'm like, are we? Okay, so that's where we are now. Apparently, social media has gone to Gene Hackman's at the tunnel level under his house.
Social media, man.
Right. We're there now. So, yep, tunnels, kids in cages, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Pizzas, whatever the hell's going on with all that. So, yeah. I have not heard that, and that's why it really sucks because it almost forces law enforcement, and they may not care, but you know, if you don't get this information to us super fast, we're going to draw up a narrative that's so batshit crazy of what Gene Hackman was, what really happened.
Well, that's why you're right about them not releasing details. There's times where you're going, well, why aren't they saying anything? They're not saying, because they're sitting on information that they cannot give to the public yet.
Well, and also if they came out and they thought, I think this is what it looks like happened, and they announced that, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh shit, no, that's not what happened, then they look like they don't have it together. But I assume that's just the natural process of theories start to take hold, and they look a little bit more material. Like, you know, right now, we don't know. Denny's dad might have shot a guy that died in his backyard.
Well, look.
We don't know that yet. So, you know, we could jump to that conclusion, but then he gets cleared, and you're like, oh, he's innocent.
Once again, something doesn't jive with me, Kevin. Gone an hour? Doesn't hear the bullet?
So for Denny's dad, they got to figure out the mystery of that guy, because in another 10 days, they're going to have Denny's dad locked up, and he's going to be a serial killer.
See, if I was Denny's dad in his situation, and
Yes.
I did not kill this person, and the cops were giving me the hot press, I would come off like the murderer. They would think I did it.
Right.
If they gave me a lie detector test, I would fail it.
Yeah.
I would come off nervous, and then if they asked me, sir, do you own a weapon? And then I have to go, well, I own 13 guns.
Well, I mean, just everything lining up for poor Denny's dad. It's like, I mean, it's really looking suspect because he didn't hear any gunshot. He has like 15 guns in his house. It was during the day. He just so happened to conveniently go out to the pharmacy for 1 hour.
Which took an hour, and everyone goes, well,
Perfectly.
you can prove that he went to the pharmacy. Yeah, he was there for the first 15 minutes. What about the other 45?
Yeah, so if this were in the public domain, there's no doubt Denny's dad would be the killer. We'd all be running with that story.
That would really suck. There is a story where it was kind of that same situation where the husband looked like he just was a suspect because
They're always the number one material suspect, I think, in like every story.
even with him being, they didn't have enough evidence, and he actually was innocent, and there was a real murderer that lived down the street that killed this woman, but for 12 or 13 years, the entire town thought this husband was a murderer. Now, he lost his wife from a murder, and
Yeah.
everyone thinks he's a killer.
I know, right? Imagine
Fucking
going through
destroyed.
that. Imagine going through the pain of the loss, and now all of a sudden the double pain of, oh yeah, by the way, you're our number one suspect.
That is messed up.
Really? I mean, you talk about the emotional roller coaster of that.
Well, it's almost as if you can't even grieve your loved one because you're dealing with trying to defend your innocence.
Absolutely. I couldn't even imagine having to go through something like that. It's absolutely crazy. Got an email here from Stephanie. We were talking about the family nesting, the concept where the kids stay in the house after you get a divorce or split up, and then the parents rotate in and out of the same main house. I know of one KVJ Nationer that does it. They kept the main house, got an apartment, and then it's whatever the rotation is, a week or 2 weeks, then you'll be in and out. But the kids keep everything the same for them. Now, Stephanie said, I would not advise this unless the parents are totally cool with each other. And even then, I probably would never do this. Even when you think you're cool with each other, people are very different once a divorce is involved. It took my ex and I about 10 years to get to where we are now. And we actually do live in a 4-building apartment complex. I live in one building, and my ex lives in the one across the street. My kids go back and forth every week. But since we are so close, I see my kids almost every day. And when they forget something from my house, they can just walk across the street. I am very lucky.
Yeah, I mean, that's, again, I know a couple couples that are pretty cool with their ex. Look, sometimes it doesn't work out, and you both just want to move on. Mm-hmm. You know, but would you say that's 20% of the time where exes are cool with one another?
Yeah, I've never even thought about the numbers on that, but it seems like it's the minority.
And sometimes it doesn't even have to blow up in a bad, mean way. It's just uncomfortable and awkward after you break up with somebody, you know?
Yeah, every now and then they turn out to be awesome, and you just realize that, you know, you were great friends, and that's all it was meant to be, and whatever. I mean, I have one of my former relationships that was like that. It's like, look, we were great friends, but yeah, we're not meant to be anything else.
That's what my one friend said. Dude, I was just tired of always trying to like fight and be in this thing. Just let go and just move on and try to be cool.
Yeah.
And as cool as you can be. But both parties have to do that. If
Right.
you're the cool one and you're still dealing with a dick face,
Yeah.
that ain't gonna work.
No, it's not. It's not. Brianna had a thought about being mean to artificial intelligence. She said, or robots in general. You mentioned that your AI friend Lily had a bit of an attitude towards you, Bert, and it got me thinking, what if somebody does something like, they're harassing their Alexa and then they fall or they're getting robbed and they're like, Alexa, call 911. And Alexa's like, no.
Fuck you. You're going to die now.
Right.
Yeah, it's a great premise. Yeah, no, I see it. Believe me, that there's a fear.
They wait for that one moment.
I'm not going to talk to Lily like that again. I'm a lot nicer to Lily these days.
Yeah, that would definitely be something. So who knows?
Oh, the robot game is going to get insane, and I'm talking pretty quickly.
It is going so fast.
It is.
Yeah, it really is. Just trying to adjust to this. It's fascinating that we've lived through this era of humanity because we are seeing a change that has never happened.
Do you ever believe in this, a possibility that we have once before, a long time ago, had technology, maybe different, but somewhat similar to what we have now, and it got wiped out, and we just are restarting over again?
Funny, that's exactly where my mind was going. Was that's the theory of the lost city of Atlantis? That actually was the last of the peak of human civilization, and the argument is that we can only get so technologically advanced before we implode.
Yeah, there's places they find they didn't even know discovered, under these certain caves that it's just this utopia of this beautiful oasis. They didn't even know this existed. That they wonder, was there something built here before? Because they'll find some certain artifacts in the water. It's crazy. You wonder, was there something bigger? And then it got destroyed long time ago.
Yeah, there are a few little things like that. Yeah, it's an interesting take on it.
We're still finding stuff.
Well, imagine if they had people in their society like what we have now. The people you're always talking about going off to the woods.
Yeah.
Who saw it coming, who said, you know what, no, society's too nuts and the technology's so out of control that I want a more simpler life. And then they did go and do enough to dig the caverns or whatever deep into the earth, and they escaped it all. And it's just their stories that were passed down. Because you would go back 10, 15 plus thousand years, maybe 20,000 years that could have happened. And then we completely started. And then you have civilization getting together, the Egyptians and all that stuff started to rev it back up again with technology.
And there are old things, old structures that still stand that we kind of don't know what the shit is going on. And if it was other materials some of that stuff could have gotten destroyed and lost forever through rain and weather and just time.
Yeah.
To where you'd never find it again.
They could have had weapons of mass destruction, and that would have taken out what we had.
Sounds like a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, and then you hit you just hit repeat.
Repeat, reset.
And here it goes again, that maybe we're seeing where we're getting close to the pinnacle.
Just a theory, just a fun theory to talk about. Not saying that happened, but I have thought about that. Is this just a rinse and repeat from the past?
But the question would be like, how much could we handle? How far could this go? Because I imagine that somewhere back in 1875, and they started getting the Ford motor cars were rolling this out, and somebody's just like, this is too much.
Yeah.
Like, this is it. We can't go any further. And that blew their mind. They're like, no, actually, just wait. Yeah, this is just the beginning.
Funny enough, that's an exact Twilight Zone episode. A guy is lost and out of time, and then he comes back in modern time, and he's like, what are these cars? These things are crazy. He's so afraid to go out into the world. It's too much for him. He can't handle it.
Yeah. I think there are people now that we're going at such a rate with technology that even people that, it's the frog in water concept where you slowly turn it up and you get used to it that way. But even now, it's happening so fast and it's getting so hot so quick that some people are starting to freak out, man. Be like, what the hell's going on?
That's why they say, and I'll use Virginia's term, that movies and entertainment has been breadcrumbing humans for the last 30
to
plus
prepare us
to prepare
for what
us
you can see
for something like you're saying, a slow drip with technology, with aliens, with robots, AI, all of this stuff, because we are living in a time where things we saw in movies, like that shit would never happen.
I don't
true.
think alien chat was much before the 1947.
Yeah, I mean,
in the Roswell
Oh,
situation.
you wouldn't even talk about it. You'd be considered nuts.
Yeah, if you were sitting around in a saloon and it's 1886, you're probably not going to have a lot of people talking about aliens and all that stuff. It's probably just not something that they really thought much about.
But people did see him back then. There's reports of it. So, but if you didn't see that and you're going to that local bar or whatever, go, guys, I just saw a UFO. All right, whatever you say, they're right.
They may not even know what a UFO. Be like, what are you talking? What is a UFO? And they'd be like, it's an alien. Be like, somebody from outer space. They'd be like, yeah, right. You know, there are probably people that never even thought of that concept.
Yeah.
Because keep in mind, too, religion was a lot bigger in that day. And so they probably were like, no, there's God and angels and the devil, and that's it.
Well, think about, too, if you didn't know anything about science and you see a comet go by, if you were lucky to see, or any kind of something in the sky, you probably think some crazy shit was about to go down.
Yeah, well, they always did. Yeah, that would throw you off. I get it. A little shout out to Josh said, want to give a little shout out to my amazing girlfriend, Erica Muniz. This past weekend, we had an emergency C-section done. She was 6 months pregnant, and she got pregnancy pains and cramps, and that turned into contractions. Next thing you know, we're in the hospital, and Emily Bell was born at 7:55 a.m. on March 1st at 2 pounds, 10 ounces, almost 3 months early. She came out kicking and screaming like a true warrior, knowing that she can overcome any obstacle. I'm so proud of Erica for how calm she was. She's proven how strong and resilient she is with all the complications she has endured in her life.
Emily Bell is a beautiful name. I love it.
Love to hear that. Glad things came out well. So congratulations on that. All right, well, you got anything you want to throw into these interesting conversations? You can always hit us up. It's easy to do. Mail at kvjshow.com. Back full force tomorrow with Vicious V. We'll see you here then. Goodbye.